Okay, we're recording.
All right.
It's at the beginning of Strange Days. Are we recording? Boot it. Mr. Nathan Masters, Adam Rayner, Slingshot World Magazine and Slingshot World TV, interviewing a chap who, well, I think he quite rapidly became a bit of an evident hero in the catapult scene because, well, the weird thing is just my bit of background was I started as a youngster, thick end of 45 years old ago. Needed some physiotherapy, lost 5 years because I didn't find out about TheraBand until I thought, I've got better than that. I've got a quarter inch, it's way better.
Yeah. No
But
comparison.
life had changed, and I mean, it's got to the point where you've actually engaged with the people who make that stuff. So, first off, tell us a bit about yourself, Nathan. How did you come to be involved in slingshots as you are now, as in, these, well, I'd call you Nathan Masters Slingshot Svengali. How did that happen?
Well, I guess it started when I was about 3 or 4 years old. My great grandfather made a slingshot for me, a bean flip from a tree, and he used old inner tube rubber and boot tongue from a shoe.
Yes.
And he was a great shot with a slingshot.
Wow.
And
You must have adored
one of
him.
my earliest memories is being in the hen house with him and shooting rats.
Wow.
And I drew back, and we were shooting stones at the time,
Of course.
and I thought I hit the rat. I did not hit the rat. It was my grandfather standing behind me shooting, and he's like, "Yeah, you got it, son. You got it." From that day forward, anything that involved marksmanship, I talked about. So I got a BB gun shortly thereafter,
Yes.
and just like every little boy, played with a slingshot throughout my childhood, but never had any level of accuracy with it. It was picking up whatever you could find off the ground and shooting it. And
Yes.
rocks that would veer off to the left or the right, never
Oh,
going
God,
straight.
yeah.
But another early childhood memory with a slingshot was the first time I learned about the word irony. Is I knocked a squirrel out of a tree with an acorn.
Oh. Sorry, cackling like an
Yeah.
idiot. Yeah, that's ironic.
But
Poor
then
Sprat.
I left slingshots. Slingshots. I enjoyed my BB guns more, bows
Yeah.
and arrows and whatnot. Through college, I really got into archery, traditional archery, shooting a longbow. And
Oh,
through
longbow.
my 20s and into my 30s,
Yeah.
I was really, really into archery. I competed a lot with a longbow and hunted with a longbow.
Whoa, because longbow means hardcore in archery, just by that word. That's
Just
that has resonance for a British man beyond.
that.
We had to grow yew trees by law. There was
Yeah.
a bloody law. You had to have them in a churchyard for making longbows.
Yep, I remember reading that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually made longbows. So I've always been into craftsmanship as well.
Indeed.
But in 2010, I was in my dad's workshop with him, and he's always enjoyed tinkering with slingshots. He picked up a slingshot made by Chief AJ. Actually, it was a Chief AJ
Sling bow.
design that Gary Miller, Flatband,
Whoa.
New Jersey, he actually made it. So my dad picked this up on eBay
Yes.
with a handful of ball bearings. I was helping him clean out his workshop, and I found it. I walked outside, and I shot it, and
Yes.
I aimed at a pine cone, and I shot it just like I did my longbow, and I hit the pine cone. And I
First
thought,
shot.
"Oh, that must be a fluke."
Fluke.
I shot again,
I
and
your
the pine
talent.
cone again. That's all it took. I was absolutely addicted.
Whoa.
So, of course, like anyone, got online to see
Yeah.
what people were doing with slingshots and discovered Slingshot Forum and
Yes.
started seeing that people were making their own slingshots. That TheraBand existed, that you didn't have to use tubular bands.
Yeah.
And so I started making my own slingshots, and I enjoy working with exotic woods, so I just started making pretty slingshots.
Yes.
And I did it as a sort of therapy in the evenings. I'd go out to my workshop and make
Yeah.
a slingshot and show it online. And before I knew it, I'd created a reputation for beautiful wooden slingshots.
Yes.
And folks were asking me, could you make one for me? And I made a few, and I thought, well, maybe this could really be a business. So I just took a gamble. At the time, I was working in commercial real estate.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, I did not
That's
enjoy
a proper,
that at all.
proper,
Yeah,
proper
that was right
grown-up
around,
job, though.
right
That's
after the,
yes.
right after the crash of 2008.
Oh, that suddenly wasn't a proper grown-up job. That's a horrifical job at that point. My God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it was just tough. So in the evenings, I'd come home, and rather than drinking away my worries, I'd just go to the workshop and make slingshots.
Yes.
But after it really picked up in 2011, I thought, I think this could go.
Wow.
So I created a website,
Yes.
started branding my slingshots, just flipping out slingshots, always putting my maker's mark on it. And pretty quick, I was not able to keep up with demand. And I knew that I was onto something.
Yes.
So that's when I made the first injection molded slingshot, the Scout.
That's it. Just saying, made the first injection molded slingshot. was at school with a kid who used to bring airgun pellet boxes to school and say, "Can you just open and close this 10,000 times?" His daddy was the god of injection mouldings. This guy, I still know, his brother has made more bits of little tiny sweet corn injection moulding. And of course, so I know a little bit about it. That's an expensive. I made how investment in that tooling, Nathan. That was a big spend.
Yeah, it is a big spend, but if you look at it, you can only make so many slingshots by hand.
Of course, yes.
So it's not a scalable business model.
No, but
and I've got a family.
Yes.
Got 2 sons and a wife. So, I can't be working at a business that I can't scale to support me.
Charlie.
And at the time I was, working 12, 14 hours a day making slingshots.
Ooh.
And when it gets to that point, there's no more love left in it. It's just
you want to avoid burnout. Yeah, I've seen it happen to some of the makers in the UK here. You need to have the love and the passion for it, and tragically, what people will pay means that in some ways you might be better off flipping hamburgers.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was looking at is the market today.
Yes.
I don't understand how some folks can do it.
Yes.
You put 15, 20 hours into a slingshot and only sell it for $200.
It's about the love of doing it. We've had one young man describe it as it's a 100% efficient hobby.
Yeah.
It uses all your money, and then just for the sheer passion and love. But there's a difference between that and actually having the wit to invest in injection molding and start. So you have your first product.
Yeah. So we brought out the Scout. I was still making custom slingshots during that time. We were also using a CNC router to make slingshots out of high density polyethylene.
Nice.
So that was able.
How many axes, dude? How many axes CNC? It was only 2 or 3 needed, I guess, isn't it? Really, but yeah.
Yes. Just to cut out the profiles.
Yes, I'm kinky for engineering. 5 axes.
Yeah, no need for that.
Too much money.
So in 2012, I created Simple Shot.
Uh-huh. And
my idea with Simple Shot is that Simple Shot is a place to where you can come and get all of your slingshot supplies. And the original vision was all simple shooting tools. So blowguns, archery equipment.
Oh, right. You had a whole panoply of...
However, there's plenty of folks out there making blowguns and archery equipment. So that's a lot of competitors in that marketplace. But no one was making slingshots, modern slingshots. So we just moved our direction just to slingshots. So Simple Shot became, the place for, and that's our tagline, everything slingshots.
Yes.
So from tip to tail, we have anything you need for the slingshot hobby, whether you make your own or want to buy one ready-made. And from there, we just continued to capitalize on our brand equity. We provide excellent customer service. We stand behind our products 100%. And the most important thing is anybody here at Simple Shot, we're all slingshot enthusiasts.
Yes.
So we do it because we love it. And what keeps us coming to work every day is the fact that we sell fun. We basically are fun dealers.
Yes.
So anytime someone purchases something from us, we know that from the moment they click buy this until it ends on their porch, they're anticipating receiving that slingshot so they can have fun. And it just warms our hearts in the fact that, every person that receives one of our slingshots, we know they're probably going to be smiling.
Yes.
They're going to go have fun with it. They're going to share it with their friends. Laughs are going to come about. They're just creating joy.
Like selling cakes to Adam Rayner. I'm going to love it. It's really cool. The parallels with the other side of the world, people I'm most heavily involved with, they actually have a byline, which is "We deliver enjoyment." They're in audio. It's a different thing, and they too know the minute this turns on and they go, "It's beautiful," and that's a big slice of the job satisfaction of that.
Exactly.
But in your case, there's a little element of the utterly childlike as well. I have to deal with the infantile, the childish, and the downright bleeding hooligan in my magazine and say, don't be misbehaving and don't be stupid. Your legal warnings on your website and stuff really quite, and the products, pardon me, are really comprehensive and have to amount to almost don't do this. We said not to, simply because you can't legislate for fools. But that's a totally different, separate issue that I'm happy to address entirely. And this is all part of the modern coolness of modern slingshots, though, because it's also meant things like the competitions and so forth. Are you travelling all the way to Italy?
Oh, yes. I'll see you in Italy.
Oh, I can't go. I can't get
Oh,
that.
you can't go.
No, it's tragic. I haven't actually. I'm not quite up to speed to the point where I can actually spend the money doing that, which is tragic. It
I was
is.
hoping to see you there.
Dang. Yeah, especially as you'll be going overhead in the aeroplane, yes, to La Bella, Italy. Um, Gosh, it's. I think it's a question of who's going to come second.
Well, I don't know. The Chinese are.
It's insane. Did
It's
you?
insane. The
Was
level of
that
skill
was that a
they're seeing.
mistake I saw on the web that 22,738 people had competed?
Yeah.
Bleh. And that's because they're not allowed guns, and every single shooting sport there is slingshots up to and including slingshot rifles and lunacy, and they talk about goats. It's kind of far away and a bit strange in some ways, and kind of cool in others.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think for Italy there'll be 20 or 25 competitors
Different
from
nations.
China.
Right, so that's quite a team, isn't it? And
Yeah.
how many in the American contingent have you guys got together? Is it a bit of an independent thing? Because we're a bit sort of, so there's four of you guys.
Four of us.
That guy's transatlantic. That's serious European foray to go to Italy to shoot slingshots.
Yeah.
Trying to explain that to a whole bunch of grown-up, sensible people, and they really would just not get it or understand.
They don't.
And they keep on saying, so you're going to Italy, right? You're not going to the Vatican specifically? You're going to go and twang rubber bands, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, and in the meanwhile, you're not so dusty at that, are you, dude? Because the pressure of being on the Opti, as they call the line for just throwing darts, but on the target line, for anybody has got to be epic. But for Nathan Masters, it's got to be a logarithmically worse situation, surely, which then gets 10 times each year worse as you're thinking, I won last year and the year before. Oh, the pressure must just be unreal. Nathan, you must have the ice in your veins, sir.
Well, so I've got to see. I'll share my secret.
Good.
So when I was in college, I was told that I had ADD, and I think any creative person certainly has a touch of attention deficit disorder. However,
the stuff on my school report, dude.
yeah.
Sorry, it's dying here. Carry on.
Looking for ways. I've always been very interested in the mind-body connection. It's
Yeah.
just been an interest of mine.
Yes.
So I started looking for biofeedback tools to help better understand myself, how I feel inside of my body.
Uh-huh.
So I used archery. In college, I had a big exam coming up.
Yes.
I would walk out that morning and I'd take one shot with my longbow at a target.
One.
And if I hit where I was looking, I knew that my mind and my body were centered, and I just didn't worry about it. I knew that I was in a place of calm.
Whoa.
So I carried that through and started competing with the longbow. So I've had a lot of time competing in marksmanship.
So this is just another day at the office, Adam. For something that was rather more important to you personally in the first place. Of course, that would explain a lot. That would explain how it doesn't destroy you to bits. Gosh.
But the thing is, on any given day at any tournament, there's many people that could walk away with first place.
Yeah.
Because it's not hard to be very accurate with a slingshot. When you're in your backyard, you can just amaze yourself.
Some of the things you did. I just did that. I did that. I was
Yeah.
daily watching. Yes.
But when you get on the firing line,
Yeah.
it all becomes a head game. Your body knows what to do. Your body knows how to replicate the shot.
Yes.
If you can't control your mind, you're not going to control your body. So being on the firing line is simply an active meditation is how I look at it. I focus on my breath. I focus internally, and I focus purely on the target. I try to wash away everything else. Don't pay attention to anyone around me. And as long as you can keep that presence of mind,
Yes.
just allow the shot to happen.
This is fascinating stuff. I wish I could remember the Japanese. We've got one or two guys who've even heard of the Japanese archery, which is not quite a martial art, but it's almost more of a sort of mental discipline, and hitting the target is almost sort of just a vague part of it. There's a whole sort of...
Yeah.
God, I'd have to look this up now. It'd be jolly
Yeah.
educated of me if I knew what it was, but...
Kyudo.
I thought you would.
Yep. Very
Yes,
familiar with it.
You look slightly entertained that I'd even heard of this thing, but it's that's the part after getting good at it. We've, funny enough, got one guy who's a really good marksman with shooting spinning discs of clay out of a shotgun, but he's getting back into slingshots, and I'm hoping they're going to work with me as well. That's a clothing brand over here, but. So, how many different products have you got now, Nathan? Because there's a few models, aren't there?
Yeah, we've got quite a few. In our injection molded line, we have the
Yes.
Scout, the Torque, the hammer, the axiom ocularis. Then we still do 7 or 8 different models in our CNC routed
Oh, really?
models.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And in the past, we've when we started Simple Shot, we were highlighting other artists, other slingshot artisans. Lewis Pride, he was on board with us years ago when he was just younger than he is now.
Yes.
Bob Fionda out of Italy, Lee Silva, Black Sheep Forge. He was the very first person to ever forge slingshots.
Yes, we've got a brand new farrier. Have you seen him?
Yes.
And then his trend is burning brightly, and people are going, oh yeah, and then there's a few of them going, oh, I can't quite handle it. but it's immensely trendy right now. It's something about bashing the hell out of a piece of sort great iron with a big mallet and a big hammer on an anvil. Dang, dang, dang. Forge from it's great stuff. And they look cut. There's nothing uncool about wrought iron, is there?
It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
So we've got a full product line. We different latex pouches, projectiles, anything for the do-it-yourselfer.
Yes, that was in particular a cool thing that the guys who want to actually get involved in the craft side as well can come to your good self too. Is it cores as such that you sell them?
We have sold cores in the past.
Yes.
Not currently selling any, but we tell folks when they call us up, they're like, which slingshot should we buy?
Yeah.
The first thing we tell them is that slingshots grow on trees.
Yeah, go cut one down, have a go. Yeah.
Go cut one, have a go, get a good band set,
Yes.
shoot spherical projectiles. That's as good as any other slingshot.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with a tree fork.
Yeah.
So that's the foundation of it. And that's another thing we really like is that slingshots offer a lot of freedom. All you need is a pocket knife,
Yes.
a couple of bits of rubber and some leather, and you can be an absolute amazing marksman.
Yes.
So it's not about the equipment. You get into the air gunning and you have to have a wire rock that costs $1,000 in your buddies, and
argue about the costing of the cast pellet and how they're so many pence each, and yes,
and you don't have a lot of control of that as a hobbyist.
Yes.
Whereas the slingshot,
It's
you
all
can
under
build
control.
Ground up, literally in 15 minutes,
Yes.
you can have a slingshot ready to shoot.
Yes.
So a lot of freedom there. And another thing is, you think back on childhood. Anytime you're engaging with a slingshot, you've got a memory stirring in the back of your mind of something foolish you did as a child or an amazing shot you saw.
I have to deal with all this kind of stuff, and there'll be an article right at the end of the magazine. I'm calling it Scrapes and Misdemeanors, and it shall always be anonymous and historical. And the idea being that, you can go along to a shoot, you can get some practice ammo, you can even be rubbish at it for a bit, and if you've got some Nathan's practice stuff, then, oh gosh. So tell me how that developed, the practice ammo, because that's such an important product. We've I know of one other kind, but yours was the original, wasn't it, by a long way?
Well, you're talking about this plastic practice ammo?
Yes.
Yeah, so Simon Wasp, Simon Dalby,
Yes.
there in the UK, he made that.
Oh, wow.
And came to us. Yeah.
So I was saying I know of one other, like I'm flipping Darth Vader, and it is, of course, Simon, who I'm talking about. It is the guys in the injection molding biz over here who did those. So cool, because they obviously have one as well. And it's one of those things. If you can get accurate with that, then you're going to be a demon with something a whole load denser, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
The thing is you see folks that get into slingshots and like, I want the most powerful slingshot available. And it's hard to get people to understand
it's
that.
Actually, actually, there's some rather weird ones across your shoulders, aren't they? That the muscles where it's coming with human powered, so you're just storing
you
it
don't
up.
necessarily need a lot of resistance to
Yes.
shoot a projectile accurately. So getting folks to understand that matching the bands to the ammo is very important.
Yes.
So like with the practice ammo, you want to use a very light band for that. If you use too much rubber, you're going to over accelerate it. It's not going to fly as true.
Yeah.
Another challenge you get with having too much rubber is with a slingshot, just like archery and a lot of other shooting sports, is the release that is key to consistency.
Yes.
And if you're gripping a lot of rubber and you haven't developed the pinch strength in your hand, then you're not going to manipulate the shot upon release correctly,
Yes.
and it's going to throw your shot. So if you'll start with lightweight projectiles, lightweight bands, and really develop your release, it'll serve you much better because you don't develop bad habits. Especially archery, people overbow themselves. They're like, well, if 50 pounds is good, then 60 pounds must be better.
Yeah. That's still a common question, but It's one of those odd things. It wasn't quite like winning the lottery, but the way I used to shoot actually deformed my thumb as a kid. I remember telling you that, and you said, "Who was it? Somebody that you had a
Yeah, Ray shot. Ray Bazonsky.
Ray Bazonsky." That was it.
Yep.
I wasn't joking. Oh no, he's the other guy who's. But of course, nowadays I'm still the same grip, but instead of upright, I'm hammerfit and sideways, which they call gangster, and the difference is ridiculous. It's a bit like making everything ever did before a mockery. It's like, that's just piffle, mate. So the modern technology and what they can do with it was quite incredible. And in the meanwhile, come on, tell us your successes. Well, just in slingshots, how many different shoots and competitions have you entered and taken trophies home from?
Well, most of the tournaments that I enter, I've placed in.
Mostly. Yes.
Here in the U.S., we're so spread out here that we don't have a lot of tournaments. We have traditionally for the last 8-9 years, I guess it's been the East Coast Slingshot Tournament.
Yes.
So I attended my first East Coast Slingshot Tournament in 2011, and I tied for first place on that one.
Dude.
I'd only been shooting about 6 months.
Yes.
And then...
and the years of archery.
I've won that tournament for the last 3 years running.
Dude. So who's going to come second after Nathan this year?
Like I say, there's
it's tough,
a lot of great shooters.
Yes.
And anyone could take it.
Yeah. So the pressure's still there, but just as it was before with the archery,
well, it's actually more so. The level of shooting skill continues just to go through the roof.
Yeah.
And talk about an Iceman. Ray Bazonsky is the Iceman.
Yes.
Ray Bazonsky's also won the East Coast tournament 3 times consecutively.
Dude, he's dangerous.
So, as long as you can keep your head in the right place during the tournament,
it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing. Wow. So what's your take on harvesting game and hunting and stuff? Because you mentioned Chief AJ, and I did a bit of homework on him. Bodybuilder, back in the whatever it was, is now in his 80s, has the sling bow and wears great shaggy chunks of caveman grade skins from things that were killed with a catapult. A sling bow with harpoon elastic and mighty projectiles. I mean, in the UK, we're not allowed to hunt things with broadheads. And we don't have I think we have to go back to about the Paleolithic since the last time we killed anything by sticking a stick in it is the problem, whereas you don't have to go nearly back that far for natives in your part of the world harvesting food that way. So have you been a hunter? Is that something that you're into at all? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always enjoyed hunting. Hunted with a bow quite a bit.
Oh gosh, you did say yes before we started up the...
Yeah. As far as hunting with a slingshot, I have mixed feelings about it. Because a slingshot, although it is very capable of harvesting game,
it's harder to do it well.
It's harder to do it well, and you really need to make a headshot for a sure kill.
Yes.
And I enjoy hunting. I think it's something that, as humans, it's something that's very intrinsic to us. It's
God, yeah, yeah. I have a theory of my own about that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't want to ever see that taken away.
Yeah.
Slingshots, the challenge being, is if someone doesn't have the skill to place, say we're shooting at squirrels.
Yes.
A squirrel's head is quite small. It's the size of a postage stamp, basically, as your kill zone.
Yeah.
You could wind up injuring a lot of animals.
Yeah.
And what I would not want to see, and the world we live in today is not the same world that you and I grew up in.
Yeah.
There's more people that look at hunting as like, oh, that's barbaric.
Yes. And there's more ignorance.
If they went to a meat packing warehouse, they would understand barbarism.
Yeah, that was a comment on the internet. Why kill anything? Why not go to the supermarket and get your meat where no animal was harmed?
Yeah.
And you think, how are these people's brains even working? But yes, it's a bit of a tightrope I have to walk. But the justification, protection of crops or eating stuff yourself, and definitely going to be cookery in the magazine there. It's But Nathan,
I enjoy hunting with a slingshot. It's my preferred way to hunt small game.
Yes,
because I enjoy the challenge. But I'm not so sure that a slingshot is 100% ethical tool for hunting across the board. In the right hands, it's absolutely efficacious.
This is the big one for us. I think it's the right hands bit. Yes,
they're really likely to just harm game, and that in and of itself is going to bring attention that we don't want to the world of slingshots.
Absolutely.
If people are out maiming animals, That's not good. They're just going to lump slingshots in that slingshots are bad. They harm animals with them.
Yes.
So let's do away with slingshots. And that would be a tragedy.
Absolutely.
So it's a very much a double-edged sword.
It is. I've penned a terrible piece of doggerel verse about just that subject. But yeah, the on the hunting front, there's it's in there with fishing, breathing, and frankly making babies. Your brain is constructed in different parts. The bit with all the wrinkles in is where you do your thinking and I could do this and make my moulding every yet more cunning. But the bit right at the top of your brain stem's only got a few little striations, and it's all the bits that start with actually live right in there. All the caveman stuff, and there is this atavistic satisfaction of me killed dinner. It's partly in the back of your head that's
But, you know,
satisfaction.
that really stems from
Starts with fish, usually, for most folks.
But marksmanship, the discipline of marksmanship, is a very much a human endeavor.
Yes.
So, you know, there's a few fish in the Amazon that can intentionally spit water out of bug off of a limb so that it falls into the water so it may eat it.
Oh, gosh, yeah, they're famous ones.
You may call that marksmanship.
Well, considering they're taking into account the refraction angle of the water, people marvel, and they're usually at quite high range. There is the archerfish is a popular tank fish over here, but you're supposed to keep it with a good 3 feet of vivarium. You can put flies in above it for it to catch stuff, because and it is groovy.
However, you know, the pursuit of marksmanship fires up something in our animal brain. Now look at it this way. So golf, whacking a little white ball, you know, long distances across a lawn.
Yes.
That's marksmanship.
Of course it is.
The ability to hit that ball with skill and intention to place it where you want it to go. And when you do it well,
yes,
it's very satisfying. Darts,
ping
are the same
pong,
thing.
tennis, darts, snooker.
Basketball,
even more so.
Requires you to
Yes.
reach beyond your physical sphere to
Yes.
affect a change.
Yeah.
Marksmanship. Now, slingshots do that in such a great way because you can slip it in your pocket. You can make it from a tree with a little bit of rubber bands, and you can satisfy that human need to hit the target. So even if we didn't have hunting, slingshots satisfy that part of the animal brain.
Yes. Definitely.
And it does it just with such simplicity and elegance. And simplicity is the thing, is that they're just so damn simple.
Yes.
It's so much fun and so satisfying when you hit your target.
And how?
You're coming back for more.
Definitely, Nathan. Thank you so much. This has been completely brilliant. Thank you very much. We'll leave it there for the interview, and just remains for me to tell folks that what you need to do is to get online and check out your website, which is
simple-shot.com.
awesome. Thank you very much, Nathan.
Thanks, man.